Bronx Tales with your host, Bronx TV, and me, I'm Logan. Thank you for being here. Welcome back to your regular scheduled programming. I appreciate everybody for sticking by me when I was unavailable to do YouTube for a couple weeks. We have been back on the live side. However, this will be our returning video for our pre-recordeds, which you should see on the same schedule about every other day or so, excluding weekends. Maybe. But thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate you very much. Today, we are going to be discussing the new Molly McMichael interview. Dun, dun, dun. You guys, this interview is absolutely absurd. I probably said that about every interview, but this one tops the list, and here are the reasons why. Before I get started, I do want to have everybody please say a prayer or have him in your thoughts for A.R. Hayes. I believe he's going through some things just medically, I believe. If we could all keep him in our thoughts and prayers, I would appreciate it very much. So I'm going to get started with this interview. I just want to let you know up front, for me, the audio was horrible when I was listening to it. I could barely understand what she was saying half the time. So in case you can't understand what she's saying, just keep in mind, it's not me. This interview took place on November 23rd at 8:40 p.m. Now, this whole time we've been told that Molly McMichael walked in to the police station on November 23rd of 2022 saying that she was the DoorDasher that dropped off food at about 4 a.m. that night. However, when the interview starts, we notice that this doesn't sound like the first time that she's been talking to Payne. At one point, she says, Do you remember when I told you? Well, how would he remember that if this is the first time meeting or doing an interview? Molly. So we do run into a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of lies on both sides, Molly and Payne. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is, again, we have another adult who's agreeing to an interview having her face redacted. And I stated on last night's live, when somebody actually brought it to my attention, that they were questioning maybe the blurring or the redaction of the faces is so we can't see that the lip movement is not matching what's being said. Now, what I find interesting about that thought is in this interview, it sounds like Molly's voice changes about halfway through. For a second, I was like, what am I listening to? Did it end and I wasn't paying attention? Who is in this interview? It was still Molly, but her voice changed. Her face is redacted, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they're putting audio over the video, if it's actually Molly, or if she's even saying what she's actually saying. We have no idea. Lana over at Truth and Transparency actually made a really good point that they had 4 bottles of water sitting in front of Molly for this interview. I suppose just hoping and praying she would take a sip and they could probably get her DNA that way, although they'd probably lose it or mess it up regardless. But that was the point, I'd assume. We will see in the video that Molly does end up taking a drink of the drink she brought herself. So they can't get her DNA. At least she knows that much. So Molly states that she pulled in and she stayed there for about 15 minutes after she parked, trying to figure out what the numbers on the house were. And then right after that is the part where Molly says, the girl in the window, remember I told you? Now, this is when she's talking about the girl in the window that she sees that keeps bobbing her head up and down. Molly thought maybe she was standing on a bed. Now, I question, since everybody thinks it is Xana that's sticking her head in the window, maybe waiting for her DoorDash, I question, was this Olivia or was this Jasmine? Because Molly states that she believes it's one of the sisters since the crime happened and she's seen them on the news. I find that really interesting. Molly then says that she sees a tan sedan on her way to dropping off the food in the parking lot, and she said she thought it was odd because he did not look at her at all. She said he was in the zone but didn't look at her at all, and she found that to be odd. She found it to be odd because she was walking around with a flashlight in a parking lot for 15 minutes. And she thought usually if it was dark out and you saw a female outside walking around with a flashlight, you would at least look over to see what's going on. She does state that she does set the food down by the door and took a picture of it. Why we aren't given pictures, why we can't see pictures of this information from DoorDash, or even simply the picture of the food sitting at the door, is beyond me. I don't understand why we can't get the very, very simple things. Molly does describe what the driver looks like. Now, we've already heard this, and the description matches up with Tesdall, who was driving the light-colored undercover sedan that night, which, after the officers did a test on their own undercover vehicle in that lighting, would come back as looking like a tan color. So we've all gotten to the bottom and believe, I think all of us believe, that it was Tesdall and Rosie. The reason she only saw the driver was because Rosie was leaned all the way back in his seat. She also says the car drove right by her and she was really close to it and she could see exactly what he looked like. Well, officers want us to believe that this was Bryan Kohberger that she saw. Now, if Bryan was that close to her and she saw him, his whole face, then she would definitely be able to pick him out of a lineup or say, hey, yep, that was him. And that's actually not what she does. So now, apparently, we have 2 eyewitnesses that have identified Bryan Kohberger as the person, but they haven't physically pointed him out and identified that that was him. Officers have said this is Bryan Kohberger, but Molly has now seen this person twice and cannot pick him out. They cannot identify him with their eyes. She then goes on to talk about his demeanor as he's driving, which I find a little comical because how do you learn somebody's demeanor or behavior by them driving by you in 1.2 seconds in the dark? That's silly, Molly. What I find extremely interesting is Molly says the person was wearing light colored clothing. So who wears light colored clothing to go unalive 4 people with a knife? So they want us to believe the person she saw was Bryan Kohberger driving that vehicle, that he was wearing light colored clothing. Then how does that even fit? Because you also say Bryan Kohberger was the person and he was wearing all black. Molly says that the driver had blonde hair, a short beard, that he was clean cut and had light clothes on, like light colored clothes on, and that his hair was very light blonde. Guys, that's not Bryan Kohberger. Molly says she was getting a text message from somebody that she was supposed to be dropping food off for, and that they continued to text her, what's your ETA? Where are you at? ETA, ETA, ETA. Guys, that doesn't sound like somebody getting DoorDash when she pulls up. That sounds like somebody is awaiting their rugs and is being impatient. Who texts the DoorDash driver asking for their ETA over and over and over again? Molly was talking about whether this person seemed to be in place or out of place, whether their look and what they were doing seemed to fit with what was going on in that area that night. And at first, Molly says that he does fit. Officer Payne then flips her words and says that he doesn't fit. He looks out of place. And then she just goes along with that. I think that's the 3rd time now I've heard an officer do that, where a witness will say something, they will flip the words, and then suddenly that's what the witness is saying. If that's not showing that these people are told to follow their narrative, I don't know what that is then. Payne then seems to go into a whole bunch of leading questions, especially regarding the girl that was jumping up and down, which now I believe could have been one of the sisters, whether it be Jasmine or Olivia. I mean, I think we know which one we're leaning towards, right? But that's very possible rather than being Xana. And Payne also continues to redirect to continue talking about the girl in the window. Now, I think he's doing this so she has her story correct. And then here I question, was Dylan's light on in her bedroom? Because that, I think, would probably be a game changer, at least for me. The female cop then starts asking some really good questions, I think. She's asking for her to close her eyes, remember the scent, remember what you hear, remember what you see, and give me every tiny detail. I wish this was done with all of the witnesses, because I think if it was, we would see a bunch of different interviews that went a bunch of different ways and more details where we would probably have more questions rather than answers once again. And this part's funny. As the officer's asking Molly to remember the details so specifically, Molly then spends about 10 minutes trying to explain how she stepped out of her door. I turned the key, and then I turned the lock, and then I turned the handle. I think I turned it to the right. I'm not sure. It might have been to the left. Then I pushed open this, and it just goes on and on and on, which is great. Except for when we get to the part where she brings the food and sets it down and takes the picture. And that's when, everything goes a little wonky at that time. She seemingly doesn't have even a quarter of the amount of details as her explaining how to exit her front door and get in her car. Which brings me to the point that they're asking Molly McMichael to remember all these details of their narrative so she can recite the story correctly. However, they didn't have Bethany or Dylan do that, and I think that's comical, but I also think I understand why, because neither one of them could remember all of those details, and they knew that they would screw it up, so they just gave them 5-minute interviews of pretty much not much of anything. Molly goes into some really great lengths of getting so many details to this officer. She's talking about colors and smells and what she's seeing and what she's hearing. She remembers when she gets in the car that this certain song was on the radio and that it was about halfway through the song. She talks about her COVID mask hanging and how she put her key into the ignition. And you guys, why the hell would she remember all of this stuff? You only go back and think, oh, I should be remembering this because something significant happened. According to her, she didn't know in that moment that something significant was going to happen. So how would she know to remember all of these details? Bullshit. I call bullshit. She then goes on to explain which directions she drove, which then she gets wrong because it's not even possible to go that way, Molly. She says she's looking around for the numbers on the house. First, she says there was no light. Then she says there was light and she could finally see it. She says she remembers clothes being in the street and exactly what kind of clothing it was. Why would you remember that? Plus, she says she was tired from driving. And now this is the part where it seems to get less and less detailed. She does give some, but not like she was before, which to me is distancing. She's trying to leave a bunch of stuff out. She talks about her laying over the steering wheel and what direction she's facing, which the way she explained herself being parked would have been wrong. She wouldn't have had that view from where she parked. And at this point, I believe Molly purposely walked in front of 1112's camera to be seen on camera because she's Bill Thompson's friend and he wanted her to be the witness, and he knew he could trust her because he did another case with her husband's murder case. So he knew what she was about and he knew she could be trusted. So he put her in as a witness and made sure that she walked in front of 1112 camera so we all see it. You guys, this was all planned out. She then goes on to describe that she basically never drove to the back of the house, which I thought she said before was where she saw Brian Koberger, was in the back of the house when she was parked. Well, she doesn't even say that at all. Seems like she starts to struggle to remember the story or the narrative there for a little bit, but then Payne wrangles her back in and gives her the correct information. Leading. It's very important to note that Molly then says the back slider door was open. It was open when she walked up there. So guys, was the back slider left open by either a roommate or maybe somebody else that was comfortable with the house that knew this was going to happen? And instead of leaving the door shut for them, the perpetrators, to open themselves and create noise, which might alert some of the roommates, especially if they're still awake, did somebody leave it open on purpose so the perpetrators could gain entry quietly? Molly then goes on to describe something that she saw. And instead of saying, I saw or I remember seeing blah, 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 Molly says, I probably saw. Guys, when somebody says, I probably saw, they're not reciting that from memory. They're reciting that from a story. They're reciting that from something they were supposed to remember, like that they were told something that they're supposed to remember. So I probably saw, that's not recalling that from memory. So to wrap this up, Molly McMichael was probably a paid character in this narrative, paid by who, I'm not sure, but we can tell very much that these are made up stories. These are purposeful. They're trying to get her to remember something. They then call her in. They claim they've only talked to her once, and this is the first time, but we can tell now that it's been more than one time that she's talked to them already. People screw up when they're lying, and it's hard to follow a narrative and act like it's from memory and remember those details. But then as they're saying those details, to remember what grammar to use, to remember a certain verbiage to use. It's hard to do that when you're lying. Molly is lying. And also, please remember, if Molly is sniffing, Molly is lying.
Not even. We gotta take her. Okay, so or anything like. Okay.
Damn it, Jimmy, get here.
Okay, so I need you to remain and move. Okay.
So guys, that's Molly's interview. I'll probably go over it several more times and find 10 more things that I find in there that's interesting, that doesn't add up and that doesn't make sense. If I do, I'll share it with you guys on the live. But for today, that is all. Thanks once again for being here. Do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your animals. Bye, guys.
He's 2.5 pounds and 4 years old. Yeah. And he passed away. I have to keep him.
So, like Alice was saying, we're gonna just take it nice and easy, okay? So we have a map here if you need it, okay? So, just let us know what else you need. I'm gonna take some notes,
Okay.
but don't think I'm not paying attention to you.
No, I'm not.
My brain doesn't work that great sometimes, so I gotta write stuff down or I'll forget it, okay? So I guess the first thing we'll do today is just kind of start, if you wouldn't mind, by, when you got your first order that night and when you delivered your last one. Kind of just tell me about
As far
that.
as that night went, I think I worked a total of like 18 hours that night. So but to focus on here, the 3 calls that I got from there were all relatively around the same time. There was 2 calls to the apartment complex next to it. The brick apartment complex thing was a big order, large. It's a weird name too. He put down a strange name. I can't even remember what it was, but it was. Some people like to play with the names when they make orders, and it was definitely one of those. Somebody's around being
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. They were all Jack in the Box orders too, because at that time nothing's like a Jack in the Box around here. The other one that I did was I think it was, I'm trying to remember, but same thing, that apartment, it was in the center section. By the time I got to that, the one that we're here for, it was my last last call for that night, for that pretty much evening. In fact, when I got back to Jack in the Box that night, they thought I wasn't coming back and had thrown away the orders. They had to my orders so I could deliver them because they didn't think I was coming back. They thought I was still for the night. Have you been there at night at that house?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that the number for the house is right there under the light, and it's very hard to see at night. That was probably my biggest problem, was trying to find the number. I didn't actually realize that I was there, which is why I was probably there for about 15 minutes. And my clock, or my map on my phone that tells me where to go, kept telling me to go up and around. Instead of, I initially pulled and parked up right there, right in front, but I didn't see the numbers, so I didn't know, and my map kept telling me to go up and around, over in there. I kind of walked around with my flashlight, so I'm on my phone trying to figure out where it was. I remember when I pulled up, I saw the girl in the window. Did you talk to me about up at that top window on the left? I would swear that she was swinging on a hammock or something, but she could have just been on the top of a bed or something. It seemed odd because she was watching me. And usually when you do an order and somebody sees you, if that's where it's from, they see you, they come running down to the door, whether it's a no contact order or not. And she jumped right down as soon as she saw me and saw that I saw her. I noticed several times as I was walking around and trying to find the place, she would pop back up in the window and I would see her again.
Either one. Okay. Those are pretty good.
I have a so I thought it was weird that she kept looking in and out of the window. Long brown hair, younger girl. There were parties going on all around us at night. I mean, they were everywhere. At one point, I remember I got in my car and I actually drove up here to see because I thought maybe there was a road that's why my map kept trying to tell me to go up there. And I parked up there because it didn't go any further. And I stopped. And I parked and I got out and I was walking around with my flashlight. And I was looking through the bushes and I could see the inside courtyard. And all the lights and everything was open. And that's where the map was trying to get me to go. I didn't feel comfortable going in there because there was no path. It just seemed odd to have you walk in that way. It seemed like a back door. There was no apartment numbers on the order or anything. It was just the house number. There were no directions or any kind of clue to tell me to go that way. But I do remember that when I was walking with my flashlight on that road, there's nobody out there and it's dark. And I'm a girl and I've got a flashlight. A car came driving by. It was a sedan. It was tan. And the gentleman that was driving, I remember it because it was odd that he did not look at me. You know, you see a girl out there walking around with a flashlight, you look, you see what's going on, and nothing, just completely zoned and out of it, almost. And that's why I thought it was odd that he just drove by me. There was no stopping or anything. And I eventually walked back up to my car, got my car, drove down, and I was like, this has got to be the house where the numbers are going. And so I pulled into the drive, and then that's when I noticed that the light had been blocking the numbers. And so I jumped out of the car, and I put the bag by the door, because, I mean, I guess it is apartments now, it's coming out, but there was nothing to tell me that there was apartments and it needed to be directed at a certain place, so I just left it at the door and snapped a picture, and then I left. And you know, so probably it took 15 minutes. It was a while of me walking around trying to find it because I remember being stressed out most of the time. It's where it actually did.
Was there some sort of time limit or something?
You get paid by your delivery, so you only get so much for delivery. They are doing a trial right now where they're actually paying me by the hour because I have really high stars, except for my time is really bad because I always get orders that nobody else wants to do or they've been rejected. And so my stars are like way down there. So I've been actually doing better with the by the hour wage. But still 15 minutes to be looking for one address is a little ridiculous. And so many parties and so many people, and I felt uncomfortable. Then I remember seeing, it's an odd thing, but like underwear and stuff in the street, and I was like, what the heck, this is so weird. Then it had been my third time there that night. And the girl popping in and out of the window was strange, but never coming down.
So once you left at the door, then what?
I just got in my car and left, and I went through campus, and I hit the light as you're coming to Winco, and I got another order. Didn't know I was home, so I went back to Payne to check the box. And I went there and hit one of my order, so he remade my order, and I got sent to a dorm in Payne. It was my last delivery to Moscow, actually.
Okay.
So it was those 3 ones, they were just like bang, bang, bang. That at the time, I was there so many times, just back and forth, it was double orders, 2 every time. One of them I actually delivered to an apartment, and this one here. And so,
So that is quite the party spot down there.
Yeah,
Right there, those are super.
I was really surprised how much was going on down there. Because there was like there were parties here, down here, they were just everywhere. There was so much noise, so much music, and it was so loud.
Yeah. Football games, I think, probably don't. real quick. First of all, you said you work for 18 hours. Is that normal for you?
When I get going like that, yeah, I will. I'll clock in and clock out. And DoorDash is pretty, I think the reason I like it, I just started doing it recently because I have a hard time with my history.
Mm-hmm.
I can clock in and clock out as I want. I don't have to schedule, I don't have to keep to things, and something comes up, I'm not gonna lose my job because I don't make my shifts.
Yeah.
And so when I get going and things are going good for the night, I'll just keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm just kind of familiar with how it works, but, and I'm just, anything else, so, do you make like on a good night, like on this night, you make what, a couple $100? Like that?
It depends because of gas.
Yeah.
Because you have to pay for your gas.
Of course.
And then you're eating too and mentioning that. So honestly, I mean, it was a good night and I made good money that night. I could probably look it up and tell you how much I made that night altogether. But when you're talking about gas in my car, my tires were not so great and I was having issues with my tires. And I guess my front alignment was out, so my Subaru that normally gets 25, 26 miles to a gallon is actually down to 17. So I did not make as much as I usually do,
Gotcha.
which is probably why I was pushing it even longer because, yeah, I was trying to fulfill my needs.
I gotcha. Okay. So how long, you said you just started, how long have you been?
I actually hired on with them probably about a year ago, but I actually didn't start dashing. It took me a really long time. Probably 6 months ago before I actually signed on and started doing it. Yeah. And actually, when I came on to do this, I had actually just taken about a month and a half off and not dashed a little bit.
Okay.
My boyfriend, too, he wanted me to take some time off. I also take care of my special needs brother. I've been taking care of him for about 18 years now. He's mild retardation. And my eldest son, he recently left and was not on good terms. He kind of left in the middle of the night, and so that's been a battle. And then his dad moved in, and then he passed away in my bathroom. And then my daughter actually, she was 15 at the time. She got really close with one of his friends, and they were taking me to court and doing me unfit and saying a lot of stuff about me, and I haven't seen her in about 2 years now. So it's been a lot on me, and I've also been taking care of my husband's best friend, who was causing a lot of problems for me, and I was losing my home, and we actually just, I stayed at my boyfriend's house, and he actually sold stuff in my house, and now I have somebody squatting in my house that I'm not even happy with they destroyed my house, and I have to go get them out and fix it, and so it's a lot of stuff that you want me to just, it's like you've been through enough, you've had too much going on, you need to just,
Absolutely.
it's like I work good, I can get the bills, just stay on and rest.
Yeah.
So I actually just have been working for the last, I think, week or two, not much, coming back on from that.
That's a wise choice. You know, it's just from talking to you, you've been through more than most people ever have to, for sure. It sounds like you go kind of above and beyond to take care of other people too, which is.
I try to. Yeah. I don't want people to have to go through stuff that I've gone through.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Make things easier for them.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to when you delivered, can you kind of, I was kind of watching it, but can you kind of just show me your path as best you remember?
I pulled up right here, right by the dumpster there. That's where I initially parked.
Gotcha.
And sitting there looking around and trying to find things. I remember I got out and I walked partway up and looked up here at this path, the road there. And my map telling me to go up there. I have a tendency to end up walking half a mile from my car, because my map tells me to. So I didn't want to do that. I was tired, so I ended up turning around, coming back, getting in my car, and driving up there. And realized that the road didn't go any further. Thinking maybe it went around or something to get there, but my map just kept telling me going like right into the middle center courtyard.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just weird. And then walking back down with my flashlight, which is when I saw the car, and still seeing again, there was no pathway, I was just double checking to make sure that I wasn't getting something wrong.
So, I don't mean to interrupt you, but well, when you're back here looking around, can you kind of describe to me just what it looks like at that back?
It's so dark, and in between the trees, you could just see like lights, and like things were open. I want to say that it was like warm and inviting. It looked nice. It looked,
Yeah.
you could go back there, but I did not see a pathway there. So it was okay for me to walk in the back of somebody's yard.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Okay. Perfect. So then you start walking back down.
I walked back down, and then I realized that I didn't miss something. I did not see a path. I was checking again until I drove back down again because I walked back up to get my car. And I drove back down, and I ended up pulling up into the drive thinking maybe I could go around that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually parked my car right kitty corner back there because I saw the light. Finally, I could tell that the light was hiding the numbers on my house. And that's when I realized that was the correct house, and that wasn't off. And that would be when I jumped out and I put the bag right there by the door and took the picture. And then I left because it was a no contact delivery.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yes, which means that I just take a picture, I send it, and I go. I don't wait for anybody, I don't wait for anybody.
So,
It's crazy.
so when you're back up here, I'm just kind of walking, make sure I fully understand.
Yes.
So you're walking back to your car, and this is when you see the car that you mentioned?
When I saw the car after I had already parked up here and I was walking down.
Walking down.
Yeah. And he was driving down, we were right around here. He was.
Okay. So you come around, so then you go and drop everything off. Did you see the car again after that? Did not?
It left. Okay. It's just, the only reason, like I said, I remembered it was because it was odd that he didn't look at me or wonder what the heck I was doing. And he was very just, yeah, and there was no, nothing. And so that seemed odd to me.
Okay.
Especially to be a girl in the dark, there's not a lot of light on that road.
No, it's dark. Yeah.
And to be walking around with a flashlight and looking around and poking around somebody's yard,
Yeah.
you would think most people stop and they're like, are you okay?
Right.
You're right.
Especially early in the morning.
Exactly. It just seemed odd to me.
So when and I've been up there quite a bit, but the road's fairly narrow.
Yes.
Like, were you pretty close to this car? Or
Yes. I mean, they drove right by me.
Like, how close do you think it was?
Not very far. I mean, there's just, I'm walking on the road. I didn't walk in the grass or anything.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of space, as you said. And
Yeah.
there's cars parked right here too. So I mean, he was right there.
Okay. Did you know anything about the car? Any sound or anything?
Not that I ran into.
No,
It seemed so odd for him to be there. He didn't seem out of place. He actually seemed very in place. Just his demeanor and everything just did not look at all. I mean, to turn his head.
When you say you look like you in place, what do you mean by that?
He didn't look disheveled or like at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to get ready for work, half asleep or something like that, or running late, or it just, he seemed like very put together, or just, yeah.
Could you describe that person for me?
I would say blonde hair, he was male. I would say it's hard because he's sitting down, but blonde, I would say maybe a light, because of maybe a beard, kind of like a short.
Okay.
I keep trying to remember if there was glasses or not, and I can't remember if he had glasses on or not.
Is he white?
White, yes.
White?
Yes, sorry, he was white. Blonde, very light blonde. Not the dark blonde where it could almost be brown, but very light blonde. Short hair, clean cut.
Did you notice anything about clothes or anything like that?
Light clothes, but not anything that would stand out. I would almost say he had the light on in the car, now that I think about it, because to see him that well on that street, you would have to have the light on in the car, the dome light,
Yeah.
because I saw him very clearly, which seems odd. I didn't have the dome light on. Because I didn't flash the flashlight on him, and he just like turned around when I looked, because the car didn't look at him in the car.
Yeah.
And I think he would look at me and wonder what I was thinking, like most people do.
So when you're, when you're out of bed, and they told me you've been up there twice before that night, Is it common to see cars driving through there? I mean, do you see traffic when you're up there earlier? Do you see people? Can you just describe the general vibe of the place?
Anybody really, both deliveries, I had to drive up and I came up around in the middle. They were both in the middle. The first delivery, actually, I drove up in the middle and it was and that was the huge order because he was texting me the entire way. ETA, 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 ETA. I'm trying to drive it. I'm getting my ETA when I get there. Yeah, but I'm trying to get them coming all the way from Payne. And people, they're very impatient sometimes.
Oh, of course, yes.
I can't remember anybody really walking around. He actually ended up coming out and walking too because the order was huge. The other order was, I actually parked down here this time and I parked down closer to the corner because I wasn't sure where the apartment number was. And I ended up walking all the way around trying to find the apartment. And ended up having to go upstairs, downstairs, all over the place, honestly, to find it. And it was in the center towards the end here. But it was upstairs. And I saw two people, it was a couple, they walked up that way and they were coming into an apartment and I was dropping off the order. They were college kids and they were just coming home, nothing, they were loud, they were having a good time, and just had to come home from the evening. Yeah. Lots of partying here and noise and everything all around. It was really hard to tell, but as far as around here, it's so dark. It's so dark. And I don't like those apartments. It's the first time I've ever delivered to those apartments this time. But my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, had told me that those were not a good apartments in the past when we were younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said that they actually considered those the white Harlem of the West Coast. You know, they call the white apartments down by a little bit more white Harlem, but these are the real white Harlem apartments.
Gotcha.
So when I pulled up to it, I was like, really, this is where I am? Because I've lived here my whole life, but still, I'll end up in a few places in Austin, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm not here.
So do you think perhaps you're, I just asked this just to clarify, but do you think maybe the fact that this gentleman in the car was, seemed out of place, that could have been the environment that was like kind of a weird, darker environment, or what struck you about?
Just the fact that he didn't pay attention to me at all.
Yeah.
And that seemed just odd.
So it wasn't the fact that it was, because you're probably used to being, I guess, are you used to being out in the dark by yourself?
I have a lot. That's actually why I have, I told my boyfriend when we first started getting together, I was like, I want to make it so you can follow my GPS on my phone. And he felt really uncomfortable, and it took me weeks to get him talking to me. I was like, look, with my history and everything, I know DoorDash knows where I am, I know they track me, but I think it would be smart if you could track me on your phone just because a lot of times he's on the phone with me and he's talking to me, especially if I'm somewhere where I feel extremely uncomfortable and I'll call him. And I'll have him on the phone. You can have him on speakerphone. The customers don't even have a clue about it, but I'll have him on there. And he's got me earpieces and stuff so I can keep him. That way just to make me feel a little bit safer because I tend to not feel so safe.
Did you call him that night at all? Was there any time you called him?
We actually were fighting that night. I made him bring home groceries and pots and stuff, and he has recently just been having a hard time. And so he wanted to know why I hadn't got pop yet. Then I hadn't gotten around to it yet. I had been so busy in the orders. There were so many of them. So he was not on the phone with me at that one, but he was on the phone with me when I delivered the first one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Kind of the next thing I was just curious about is, so when you're looking at that building that you eventually deliver the food to, so you have the main story where the door is, where the light is, okay? Where from that front door did you see the girl that kept looking at you?
She was up at the top, the very top left-hand window.
Okay.
She just kept jumping up and down and up and down.
So the very, very,
Very
not the middle one, but the very one.
The very top.
Okay, top left. Okay, gotcha. And you said when she was jumping up and down, can you kind of describe that to me?
She like jumping up and down, and like every time she noticed that I saw her, she disappeared from the window.
Okay.
She jumped down.
Nice.
And then as soon as like I would turn back around or I'd come back by the window again, she'd be up there looking at me. And then I thought I was losing my mind, but I thought maybe she was in a hammock or something swinging up there. I don't know if it was in a bed or you're on campus. You just don't know. It seemed odd to me because she wasn't coming down for the order. house as well.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they come, if they see that, they come down and I want to help you out. Yeah, they were too. And it had already been, I don't know how long, since it was a very busy night. I was running nonstop the entire shift. Every time I had to clock out was to just get a breather and get some gas.
Yeah.
And then clock back on because it was running back on and back running around. I remember checking the box and put a table out for us because they had so many orders they couldn't keep up. That's what they were doing. Yeah.
How late do they stay open?
Jack in the Box, they are supposed to be 24 hours, but they actually close down about 4 or 5 sometimes during the day. But they're the only place around here that's open all night.
I was gonna say, I don't remember because I barely really told me, but it's like, I know only the places here in Moscow changed their hours a couple years back. And
everything else closes at midnight. They say 1 or 2 on their websites and stuff, but they actually don't stay.
I get you.
And Taco Bell and Pullman will stay open past midnight, but their dining room is not only in a drive-thru.
Right, just to drive through.
And so they shut down their DoorDash too, but they don't shut down the orders online. So your orders a lot and get stuck in the drive-thru to get the orders canceled. And so we spend a lot of time fighting with them. I don't like the Taco Bell and Pullman. They make me nuts.
Yeah.
I sat there for an hour and 15 minutes before with an order. They're telling me that they had the order, they were working on it, it took them 15 minutes, and then an hour and 15 minutes later, I'm like, oh, we never got it. I'm like, I sat here for an hour and 15 minutes to get paid $2.
Yeah, especially when it's, your thing is turning and burning, that's what makes your money.
So when something like that happens, you only get half the order. So I got $2 to stand there for an hour and 15 minutes. I was not happy.
Yeah.
They tried to make me leave before because of him. I was like, really? He's like, that's not.
Yeah, sure. It's about the chillest dog may have ever met.
I'm like, can't actually make him leave. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And he's not a service dog. Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
And they feel like an ass. But they're always slow. Their orders are slow. And people who order from, they don't tend to tip very well, to be honest. The college kids from Taco Bell. It's usually like $1, even though you have to help to get it.
Right, yeah. So the girl, she returning to this, the girl in the window, can you kind of describe her? You said she had
long brown hair.
brown hair.
I want to say after looking at the pictures, I'm sorry, I don't watch the news, so I didn't know. I started looking, I think it was one of the brunette, the sisters. If I had to guess, but I was so far away, I couldn't. The college kids are all, so many of them, and I see so many faces. I've been trying to rack my brain too about the name that was on the order, and I can't remember the name on the bag, and it's been driving me nuts. I'm sure that there's a record of it through DoorDash. I wish they let us keep some of that stuff, but on the order.
I'm gonna rewind so you guys can hear Officer Payne. He said that she could not recognize any of the person that was in the window as one of the victims, but he left out this very important detail that she's basically saying the girl that she saw. Go ahead and get a listen here.
After looking at the pictures, I'm sorry, I don't watch the news, so I didn't know. I started looking, I think it was one of the brunette, the sisters. If I had to guess, but I was so far away, I couldn't. The college kids are all, so many of them, and I see so many faces. I've been trying to rack my brain too about the name that was on the order, and I can't remember the name on the bag, and it's been driving me nuts. I'm sure that there's a record of it through DoorDash. I wish they let us keep some of that stuff, but we don't get to keep the pictures that we take, or the orders, or any record of any of it.
It just goes to them.
It all goes through the app. Occasionally it'll screw up, and I'll get a phone call or a text message that'll go through my phone instead of through the DoorDash app, but I looked and it didn't.
You didn't get any messages from whoever ordered this that night? Okay, gotcha. Probably would help you find that place.
Yeah. And again, the girl, I thought that's what she was doing. I thought that's why she kept jumping around out of the window once I saw her. Because,
Yeah.
You're running around with a Jack in the Box bag. I mean, it wasn't a big bag either. It was a small order.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What is just like, was it one bag, two bags?
Just one bag.
One bag.
One small bag. I would say probably a value meal at that.
Okay.
They don't let us open them.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
They usually have the order written out on the screen if you look at it. to see if they use straws or stuff like that. But honestly, I can't remember anything in particular about the order. I was running back and forth so many times. I actually had a friend that was sitting in Jack in the Box parking lot waiting for me for the last like 3 times of running back and forth in his car because he was waiting for me to take back with him to eat a hamburger that I too. And I got that too. Yeah. He actually left when I was at that one.
Okay. Well, Alex, do you have anything else you'd like to?
Yeah, that was fantastic. First of all,
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, your memory of just that bit was fantastic. We have a couple of techniques that might help you to remember a little bit more, just to kind of maybe ask questions in a little bit of a different way, that might help jog some of that, if you're up for that.
Of course.
That might help. It might do more if you're willing to do that. Before we even go there, I just had a couple other questions that maybe, before we dig a little bit, in a different manner. I think you had said that when you saw the man in the car, he didn't look out of place. Was that right? Am I remembering that right?
He looked out of place because he didn't look at me.
Okay.
That's what was out of place. The fact that he did not make any kind of gesture towards the fact that I was there. That's why I remember him.
Okay.
There was nothing that made him look disheveled or out of like running in a hurry or he was late or.
Okay. It sounds like when you're driving around on campus, there's lots of college and lots of that stuff around. Did he look to fit in kind of with the
seemed a
people
little
that
bit
you
older to me, but in those apartments, I didn't know that those were campus apartments either, or those are what kind of housing they are. So I wasn't sure as far as, but he did look older than like the average college kid. Yes.
Okay. So when you say older, what does that mean to you?
Age is so hard. I would probably say late 20s, 30s, somewhere around there. Probably I would think out of college.
Okay. You said you remember that the car was tan?
Yes,
if I remember.
in a sedan.
Okay, in a sedan. So what does that mean to you, a sedan?
4-door.
4-door.
Yeah.
Okay.
A family car with a dome light on.
Okay. Do you recall what the interior of the car looked like?
It was light.
Light color?
Light interior.
Okay. Anything else that you saw in the car? Was there?
No, I didn't really look. I just saw him and the fact that he didn't look at me, and I was like, okay. And I kept looking for the apartment and the number because I was trying to get that food. It keeps getting cold.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't want to get up that store with Mark for having delivered cold food. So I was trying to make sure it was warm.
That's how you get the stars, right?
Yeah. Actually, I get stars for putting extra sauces.
Interesting.
A lot of stars for that.
Yeah.
I have bags and bags of extra sauce from every restaurant, and that's how I get the stars.
Jack in the Box order, you throw in some Arby's sauce, throwing that in.
I've done that a couple times when Taco Bell sent out of their hot sauce, because there were like 8 different hot sauces. So I have bags and Ziploc bags and tapes and stickers and all sorts of stuff to like turn into the. Yeah, there's so much stuff in the backseat of my car. It looks so disheveled. It's awful.
It's worth it for the stars.
Yeah.
Do you remember, so obviously the interaction with that tan sedan stood out to you for a reason, but do you remember seeing any other vehicles? Anything else driving?
Or it was so, everything was calming down at that point. There was still a lot of activity up here at these apartments in this house. It seemed like, and down here at the back, you could hear rules, but around here it's like everything was calm and quiet and dark and shut down.
Okay.
For the most part.
You mentioned too, and please forgive me if you showed about this on the map, but you talked about 2 people who you saw walking into an apartment.
Yes, that was.
Can you just show Bryce and them that they're kind of where they were walking from, where they were walking to?
They just walked up and into the center here where you could get into the center of buildings. I was actually on the second level in here, and they had come up the stairs and walked by and went behind me. So I'm not sure what apartment they went to.
And some of the reason we're asking all these questions, obviously, is just like you were there around at the same time. What did you see? What did you hear? And we're trying to track down as many witnesses as we can, so that we can ask them the same questions and try and figure out where we're at. So what I'd like to do, if you're amenable, I may swap places with that door for a minute, so I'm not yelling from the back of the room. And again, I'm amazed at all the detail of this that you remember just from. It was an odd delivery, I know, and yeah, I remember getting home and saying that was not delivery too. And what made it odd? It's just the girl in the window, and then the gentleman, and then just the last one of the night, it just stood out, and then the map wanted me to go to the center. Go that center courtyard in there, that seemed odd to me. Okay, and just again, because I was sitting there, so when you see the center courtyard that's over here, back there, I couldn't really see, there's so many bushes and it's dark, but there was definitely light glowing through, and you could see kind of stuffed animals and stuff, and it was just inviting, but I wasn't going to walk back there. That seemed like, that was hard to. Yeah. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, what I'm going to try and ask you to do is have you kind of think back to being there, to being, let's do from the time that you are coming down to Mrs. Taylor, so like you're pointing to the neighborhood, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do is close your eyes, think back, try and put yourself back to that time, to that place, and we're going to talk through what you saw, what you heard, if there was any smells that you recall, and just try and be there and actually see those things, okay? I would like you, and to the extent you are able, to give me every detail of the interaction, okay? We're not in a hurry, we're not in a rush, we can do this as long as you're able to. We hope that the more we're able to go slow and kind of almost be there and look around. I know that's there. Just if what other things may come to mind, okay? And I'm gonna do it first. I'm gonna just tell you about getting into my car at home, just to give you an idea of how much detail that I hope we can remember, just to give you a sense of kind of how much. Once you start, I'll do it first, and then I'll ask you to do it. Once you start, I'm not going to interrupt you, okay? I'm not going to ask you any questions at all. I just want you to remember as much as you can. We'll go from the time you pulled on to King Road from Taylor, all through the 15, so it's about 15 minutes, right? So all through that 15 minutes until you're pulling back out, okay? And this may take that whole 15 minutes, okay? That's fine. It may take longer if you are able to kind of really visualize what you saw when you were there, okay? One of the easiest ways we find to do it is to talk about it as if you're there, right? I see this, I'm hearing this, that kind of thing, okay? We'll do that first, and then we may do this again a couple different ways. Just again, every time we go through it, sometimes new memories will pop up, new things will kind of be jogged by other things, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go first, just to give you a sense. I'm going to tell you about getting into my truck at my house. Okay, so I'll start when I leave my house till the time I get into the truck. Okay, so take a minute, kind of visualize it, picture it. Okay, so I open the door. On the inside there's a silver handle, but it's one of the handles that has a loop on it, so it goes from the top and it rounds down to the bottom and it meets the door in two places, and it has like a latch on the top. I usually leave the front unlocked so the deadbolt is already open. I can push down on the lever and pull the door towards me. Hinges are on the left, so the door will swing from the right side to the left side. And then I have a storm door. There's a storm door there. It's like black frame, but with a divider in the middle. And the handle for that is also on the right. And that has, again, another, like a latch push down to open that door. And that door swings out. So as I walk through that door, I turn to my right and kind of hold that storm door with my butt and my back. and reach around with my right hand and grab the outside handle of the main door. It's all black, but the handle again is silver like on the inside. I can pull that door closed behind me. I have a key padlock, so I have to lock it with a button, but I can push any button to latch it. But two is the button I use. And as I kind of pull on the door as I'm locking it, it won't lock. So I pull on the door, and it gets kind of like a beep to tell me that it's locked appropriately. And I step back on the storm door, and I let that door just kind of fall, but it never slams closed, it just kind of fades closed. I'll turn around, have a single step there. You can step down from the front porch onto the sidewalk. And then the sidewalk, I curve around to the left. There's a car in the driveway there. I don't like to walk on the grass because the grass is always really wet. So I kind of walk into the driveway and like scoot along the side of that car. It's actually a truck. It's a black pickup truck. And it's parked face in so that the coming towards the street. I walk alongside it, so it's on the left side of it. And I walk down maybe 5 or 6 more feet up to the end of the truck, to the bumper, across the sidewalk that crosses the driveway, and into the road. No cars are coming. So I just cross the street there, and there's more like parking on the opposite side of the street with the grassy area there. And there's parking spots that not parallel parking with the other one, it's just straight in along right in front of the house, but on the other side of the road. And my car is in the first parking spot. It's a silver Tundra. There's a tonneau cover on the back. And every time when I walk to the front, to the driver's door, there's a golf ball dent over the left, over the driver's side rear well that I see every time. Walk past the rear doors to the front doors. I have to click open the door with the key fob. Click that open, and it gives it like a 2 beep. It's like a beep. For the unlock. And then open the door, and I notice on the grassy area there, there's kids that sometimes play in there. They weren't there when I left, but the soccer ball was there. And one of those orange cones they use for their goals is kind of right in front of the truck. And then I get in the truck. It's gray on the inside, a black dash, black steering wheel, and black dashboard. I have the keys in my right hand, but the keys in ignition, driving ignition, it still has a regular key in it. And there's the University of Tennessee mask, like a COVID mask, that hangs on the left of where the bunker is. So mask there. On the console. And I went to put my phone in the cockpit. I found it. And as soon as I plugged it in, the music from the thing on. know what song it was, but it was definitely a Brian song. It was like halfway through, because I'm not sure. But it was in the middle. I remember it popped on right in the middle of the song. And I looked up, I put the truck in reverse, looked back out of the out of the parking spot. There's no backup camera, so I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was a couple walking a dog along the sidewalk. It's like maybe a shepherd, like an Australian shepherd of some sort. It's like brown and white, and she had on a blue parka. She had brown hair, jeans, and he was taller than her. Had gray hoodie and jeans, and they were walking up the hill. So in my mirror, they were moving from the passenger side to my side. I saw them through the mirror. And then I put it in reverse and back out. And we hit. Okay? Good sense of kind of how much we're talking about. So it'll take some time. Close your eyes. I had my eyes closed because it certainly helps you see it. Okay? Before we get started, any questions about that? Okay. So, then I'm not going to ask any questions. Okay, so if you can close your eyes, take a minute, put yourself back down, remember being in this area here as you're approaching into the neighborhood. Close your eyes, take your time, and when you're ready, and you can see yourself there, you go ahead and start.
Okay, Molly, here you go.
After driving up the road, before the turn signal on my phone, I was going back to that area again, being like, holy cow, there's one right here. Turning up to the road, and the left on the King Road, and then taking a right onto Queen. Trying to watch my phone, telling me where to go, watching the map that I keep on the satellite so I can see the buildings, because it's easier to find places on the buildings, the addresses on the satellite mode. All of a sudden my phone saying you are there, and I pulled over to the right.
Taking a right onto Eight.
And it seemed really, really bright. I'm not being able to see them, and the lights on my car seemed so bright. And it seemed really, really bright up where I was sitting because it was so dark out. And I'm looking over to my right, and I'm looking at the house, and seeing that hanging down. It's not kind of a ponytail, it's kind of stylish, it's not done up. It's almost like pajamas or just end of the day wear, just kind of hanging out in the window. And her head kind of tilted and kind of looking around, and it seemed odd. And I remember leaning forward in my car and went to the steering wheel to look to see her better, and when she realized that. And her head kind of tilted and kind of looking around, and it seemed odd. And I remember leaning forward in my car and went to the steering wheel to look to see her better. And I would disappear, and I was like, okay, that was strange. Waited a moment and looking around still to find the numbers. Realizing that must not have been it because the girl didn't come down. And I didn't see numbers. I'm trying to remember what number the apartment buildings were. Looking again at my phone to see if there was an apartment complex unit. And TV dinner wasn't. Telling Mikey to stay. He was sleeping in his, I keep a dog bed in the passenger seat that I hugs into. I took a leash and I tied it around the passenger side because if I have to slam on my brakes too hard in the car, then Mikey was flying. He was not happy when he was flying into the floor, so he stays in his little bed and stays warm. I told him to stay, he couldn't come out this time to the delivery because I didn't know where I was going. And I left the food, and I left the car running. And I turned it off because I wanted the headlights to stay on. I wanted the extra light to see as I was walking around. And I remember getting out of the car, it was cold, putting the car door and walking, and realizing it looked like garbage all over the road. As I'm walking up the road, I'm looking at my map on my phone, and then seeing what looked like dirty underwear in the road. Which I remember shaking my head and thinking, geez, I'm on campus. And I kept flashlight on and looking and thinking that's gotta be the house. Looking up at the window again, the girl's still not there. She didn't come down. I can't be right. Walking up to the other apartments and seeing that the number. I'm looking at my map, it's telling me to walk up that road. I kind of walk up there, and I'm looking with my flashlight, and then I'm seeing that there's a little courtyard in between the bushes, but I'm not seeing a pathway or walkway or anything to get through. No movement in the house, no movement outside, nobody talking. It was noisy down at the street by the car, but not up there. It was quiet. It was noisy down at the street by the car, but not up there. It's quiet. It's dark. I'm getting really nervous because it's dark and it's quiet. And my mouth is just still telling me to keep walking up there, and I see that there's a road, but I'm not sure if it's the parking lot or there's an actual road that goes up and around. I drive up it because I don't want to end up walking blocks and blocks away from my car again. I get back down my car and I look back up and the girl's up in the window again. And she's just sitting there looking out the window, and the only thing you can really see in the window is her. And again, she makes eye contact with me and she disappears again. She goes down. She's gone. And I keep walking out of my car and I'm looking for numbers. And the voices are starting to come up, the college kids and the radios and the music, but I can't make them out. Any noises. Still looking around for numbers. I finally get in my car, out the door, get in, put my phone up on the stand, which takes forever because it's new. Pop socket doesn't want to fit into the stupid thing. And they're all situated up there, and I take my car and I put it in drive. Phone is telling me to turn and walk. And my car went room up the hill very quickly. And then realizing that I was at a dead end, and I needed to find a place to park the car. They can tell me that it was okay, because he was starting to make noises. They wanted to get out and go with me, but I didn't want to carry him around. It was cold, and it was easily cold. And I got the car parked. It was dark. It was really dark. I'm trying to get my flashlight on, and I was carrying it with this time, just in case. I'm walking down the hill, and it's so dark. I'm looking through in between the bushes and see the light and the glow from in between and going out to the courtyard that would actually be kind of cool place to live. And it was being open. I remember the glass doors open, I think. outside to look at it because I know that when you hit it, there's not a lot of room. And it's at night, I'm with a flashlight, I'm expecting somebody to like be sitting there knocking at me, wondering what the heck I'm doing. That's kind of crazy. And turning around, and it's a tan light colored car driving by me. It's not going fast, really slow. The dash light is on, it's very easy to see inside. But he is very into what he's doing. He doesn't look at me, and he seems very just not paying attention to anything else going on. But the light's on in the car for some reason, and it's very light inside the car. I don't see anything bags or anything in the seats. I remember seeing the seats. And nothing like a bag or anything hanging around. He had a light colored dress shirt on. Short hair. It was pokey. There was this pinky, pokey hair. And a beard that was not a long beard, very short. But nothing like he hasn't shaved in a couple days, but it's been a while. But not like he was, I don't know, purposely or not. The fact that he didn't even look at me was very strange. And walking down, I got to the end of the house and the bushes, and still I couldn't see a path. I wasn't missing anything. I didn't miss a pathway. Maybe the road goes up and around the other side. I can kind of see up there that it looks like there might be a parkway on the other side of the house. Maybe that's it. And I'm missing. And turning back around, I'm walking up the hill really fast. I'm trying to be fast because it's dark and I've been taking too long. I've been there way too long and I'm cold and my keys getting fancy and it's getting cold and I'm doing better when I got in the car. It's on there. And I'm putting my on my lap because I'm uncomfortable. And I'm getting pulled out without trying to hit anything. I'm speeding down the hill rather fast because I was very uncomfortable and I didn't like where I was. I come down the hill and I decided to pull in. I pulled in very fast, getting frustrated, knowing I had other calls. I remember hearing the gravel clicking, and I did not see the girl in the window this time when I pulled into the drive. She wasn't up there. And here I was. I'm gonna take a drink, take a break for a second, just over it. That was great. There was a ton of detail with some new things in there too that helped you kind of pull out, which was great. Can I ask you a couple questions about some of that stuff? What you said when you pulled in and parked by the bus, you left your lights on so you couldn't see. Can you explain to us a little bit about exactly where the car was and what the headlights of the car was? Right, right here. The dumpster is right there, right at the very opening of the drive. Dumpster right next to the drive. Yes, I was shining so I could see the numbers on this apartment here, the apartment complex. The numbers are right there on the corner. I think it's like 800 or something, ridiculous. But okay, it's a 100 number with 2 zeros. I can't remember the first time that was down there. I think you had said before, was there a time that you walked this way? I didn't walk that way, just this way. My car, I drove when I came down in the car, I drove that way. I see. And that's where I parked my car right there when I saw the numbers. I was right at the right angle where I could see the numbers away from the light. Okay, so that's when I realized that that was the house that I was supposed to be at. So I slammed it in the park and that's when I took out. Okay, so the car just right, is on the right side of the house. It's over here on the right. Yeah. And there were cars parked in there. Okay. Can you, if you close your eyes, remember anything about how many cars, what kind of cars, what cars, anything about those cars? I want to say that all I remember, I want to say maybe 3 cars. A dark sedan car is the only one I can remember that was actually parked in there. For some reason, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the cars that were in there, just because nothing was moving, nothing was going on. Totally on that side of the house.
See, can you explain to us a little bit about exactly where the car was and what the headlights?
The car was right here. The dumpster is right there, right at the very opening of the drive.
Dumpster right next to the drive.
Yes, I was shining so I could see the numbers on this apartment here, the apartment complex. The numbers are right there on the corner. I think it's like 800 or something ridiculous, but
Okay.
it's a 100 number with 2 zeros. I can't remember the first time I drove my family.
And I think you had said before, was there a time that you walked this way?
I didn't walk that way, just this way. My car, I drove when I came down in the car, I drove that way.
I see.
And that's where I parked my car right there when I saw the numbers. I was right at the right angle where I could see the numbers away from the light.
Okay, so
So that's when I realized that that was the house that I was supposed to be at. So I slammed it in the park and that's when I jumped out.
okay, so the car just for right is on the right side of the house.
It's
The car.
over here
It's on the right,
corner.
yeah.
And there were cars parked in there.
Okay. Can you, if you close your eyes, remember anything about how many cars, what kind of cars, what kind of cars, anything about those cars?
I want to say that all I remember, I want to say maybe 3 cars. A dark sedan car is the only one I can remember that was actually parked in there. For some reason, I didn't pay a lot of attention to the cars that were in there, just because nothing was moving, nothing was going on.
If I'm wrong, that while you're up here and you look down and you look warm and inviting, and I think you said something about it being open.
I think the doors, I don't know if they were open, but I would have thought it almost seemed like there was glass doors open back there, but I don't know if they actually were, or if it was just clean glass doors.
Okay, so I was going to ask you what made you think that they were open?
Just because I couldn't see through.
Okay.
I couldn't see through, so I could see through, sorry. So I wasn't sure if it was glass doors, it was just really hard to see. It was more down here towards, as I was looking through the bushes where it was telling me to go through into the carport.
Okay. So you noticed it down kind of closer to the house?
Because I didn't walk past, when I was walking down, I didn't walk past this part when I was walking down. It was just, and once I got to that point, it was like, okay, I've already went past the house, and that's when I came back up.
When you, and just so I'm clear too, I know you can't write this already, but which direction were you traveling, and which direction was that car traveling?
I was walking down, and the car was coming down, also coming down the same direction that I came from.
When it passed you, you said as it passed when you were over your right shoulder.
Yes, I was walking down the hill.
Okay. As it passed you, do you remember seeing the back side of it at all?
No.
Did you watch it as it went past you?
I remember going down the hill, but then I just turned and kept doing what I was doing because I didn't see which way it turned.
Okay. And then if you remember, when was the first time you saw another vehicle when you were leaving, after you dropped the food?
Another vehicle.
At any point, even if it's, way out on the street, do you ever remember encountering another car in front of you, behind you, passing,
Not that I remember. It was pretty dead out. The was starting to calm down. But there was still a lot of noise and music coming from somewhere. I thought it was coming from these apartments here, and then from this one here. But I remember walking kind of down here and seeing these guys lost the lawn, and there was lots of noise coming from that area.
Okay, so this is, I'm not sure, is this a house or an apartment?
I think this is an apartment. It looked like it's kind of strange, like the apartment's only upstairs.
Okay.
It's weird looking.
Okay. But you said those lights were on?
Yes.
Okay. That was really great. I'd like to do one other similar kind of thing, just to see if we can kind of pull something else out. So, if this, no, let's use this building here. So these are apartments here. Mm-hmm. What I'd like you to do is imagine you're in one of these windows here on the end, okay, and you're looking out Okay? But you're not you, because you're not doing everything that you did that night. But if it's me up in this window here, and I'm looking out from the time you pull in, same thing, from the time you pull in to the time you pull back out. From up here, what am I seeing? What can I see from up here? There, up here, probably my headlights as I pull up. Once I get to walking up here, you'll be able to see that. Maybe as I turn and look at this, and you're looking around. You will see me walking over there, right there. And then what I'd like you to do when you're in one of these windows here on the end, okay, and you're looking out, okay, but you're not you, because you're done, you're doing everything that you did that night. But if it's me up in this window here, and I'm looking out from the time you pull in, same thing, from the time you pull in to the time you pull back out. From up here, what am I seeing? What can I see from up here? I'm right there, up here. Probably my headlights as I pull up. Once I get to walking up here, you'll be able to see that. And you're looking around and looking over here. You will see me walking over there, right there. And then you turn me around and coming back down here to my car. I'm looking at the other house numbers. And then you would see my car come up, just silver see-through, very fast, coming up and trying to find a parking spot. And I think honestly, I parked like right there. It was so dark, but it was like, I'd see him at the end of the house and then coming back up and very quickly and coming right back up to the car and then driving down very fast. And then probably hearing my tires turn and the gravel spitter as they turn in there. But I don't know that you would be able to see me actually get out of the car. Okay. And go to the door from there because of the bushes and the trees and everything that's there. It was big. Thank you very much for that. Did any of that, were there any additional questions?
No, you did an awesome job. Yeah, truly, good.
Going through all of that, is there anything else that sticks in your mind or that got jogged, that maybe is bubbling its way up about that, the 15 minutes or so that you spent in that neighborhood, or even on your way in or out of the neighborhood, if there was anything that just remembering that was one of the weird delivered and was there forever. His hair could have been like a blondish red, it was hard with the glow of the light. It's the only thing I can think of it. And there was a picture in it that could be made of and just blonde in it, and it was like strawberry blonde. Yeah, tan. And you mentioned that you had a dress shirt on. Yeah. When you say a dress shirt, collar up, but not shirt. Okay. No coat over the top or a hoodie like you would see on a college student. Okay. Or a sweater. And a dress shirt. And it seems like you described being able to see pretty clearly on the inside of the car. Yeah, I remember the inside of the car being lit up. Like he had the dome light on, which seems odd to me, but I don't know. But he wasn't looking around or anything. He was just straight. Did it seem like there were any tints in the windows? No, it was just clear. I could see right through. Okay. I could see him so well. Okay. That's why it's been just bugging me, because I could see him so well. The light colored interior of the Bronx. Can you see anything about the color besides that it's light? Yeah. Just light. I don't remember any bags or a letter or anything around, anything on the dash that didn't belong there. It was sticking out. Very clean and very nitpicked. Okay. What about the color of the dash lights? Not that there's a glow from the dash when you're calling.
Not much of a glow because of the dash light, the dome light going on. So not much that I saw there. It just was very bright in there. And then being so dark. I mean, I think there might be some light coming from in between there, coming through the windows, just right when I was perfect timing. That could have been it too, with the dash light or the interior light being on, but it just didn't seem very bright in there when I think about it. That's right.
And the picture, the gentleman sitting in the car, you know, looking at the side profile.
Yes.
Did anything stand out to you about his facial features?
Can you recall his hairline?
Not anything that was, it wasn't like it was balding or anything like that. It's just normal. He wasn't wearing a hat or anything like that. It was his hair. So it was very spiky, almost spiky hair. It was short.
So he's spiky short. Can you describe that for me just a little bit more?
Not like slick back or anything like that. Just like spiky short, not like buzz cut, but longer than that, a buzz cut.
Just if I remember correctly, you said this was not your first delivery to this neighborhood.
It was not. I had two. I had ones up here.
Okay. And there was one more after it, or no?
No. Okay. I was actually, I had more deliveries in Pullman, but okay, I actually did that one last one, and then called me. He's like, "You need to come home. This is ridiculous. You've been gone forever. Why aren't you home yet? You've been at this for like 18 hours. Why aren't you coming home?"
Do you remember about what times those two earlier deliveries were?
And then called me. He's like, "You need to come home. This is ridiculous. You've been gone forever. Why aren't you home yet? You've been at this for like 18 hours. Why aren't you coming home?"
Do you remember about what times those two earlier deliveries were?
They were directly before.
Okay.
I mean, I went to I was dashing in Pullman, and they sent me to the crazy name delivery with all the right there, and a gentleman here. And that was the first one, and then I got sent right back to Jeff and the boss again. Okay. And I think I did a double drop off from Pullman. Okay. And then right back there again for the second delivery to be dropped off in the center there.
Okay.
And then right back to Pullman again.
Okay.
And I did one drop off in Pullman and one drop off to them.
I see. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, I get a lot of double drop offs.
Okay.
Most dashers don't, but I get a lot of double offs. Good for you. Yeah. A lot of complaints on them because they're not fast enough. I'm not sure why.
So when you came through this area on those two earlier deliveries, I don't want to say the traffic, but what was were there people out? Were there
There were
vehicles
people out, there were vehicles, there were lots of vehicles out, parked on the sides and lots of noise and typical college party night. Seemed like all of the apartments were somebody was out partying.
Okay.
And so you get up to here, I don't know if you've been there or not, there's no lights, street lights or anything once you get up there. And so I was trying to drive around up there, and the weather was not great, I remember. And so trying to see, especially up here, and where I was going, I ended up driving on the walkway in the center of the apartments because I didn't realize I was supposed to be driving on them. And him on my phone, like, me at ETA, and I'm like, and so then I had to go in reverse out of the center of the courtyard. And driving back, and he came out of his apartment with the purple door.
Okay. And you say, so you went straight back to driving box and straight back. How long can you get that trip takes?
On that night, it doesn't take very long, maybe 10 minutes or so. I could probably check on my phone on my maps and see, but it's not a long drive when the weather's not bad. Even at night, when I do it so often, I know the road pretty well. And I wasn't taking airport road at all that night. It was on the highway and back and forth between Jeff and the Bronx. I would take not airport, the back airport road, but as soon as you get to the light on the Pullman side, and then go that way to Jeff and the Bronx up to campus. Okay. So it's very quick, especially because nobody's out. It's just Ashers. We're all running back and forth trying to not get Sorry, but busted for speeding. I got busted for speeding the other morning. The Stadium Way strip right there. Yeah. They're right there watching us pretty closely.
Yeah. When you, on those first 2 trips out to this neighborhood, do you recall seeing any other vehicles out?
Not anything that stood out. There were kids walking with boys and lots of, but not anything. It was so late, I didn't expect to see a lot of cars out.
So if you had seen any cars on the road at all, you know, not parked, but
Yeah,
cars.
I mean, I had that, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 passing by me, but nothing that stood out and not a lot of traffic. It was very quickly up and out and up and out, and not a lot of having to wait at stop signs or waiting for traffic to move. Especially being up here, because there's not a lot of, you know, unless you live up here, you know what you're doing up there, you're not usually going to go on that side. But down here, there's more people moving around and because it's the main road. A lot of people that go to Waco, because Waco is open all night, and if they live on the side of town, they will go that way to get through town because it's faster and it's easier by going through downtown and Main Street and everything to get through at night. So it's the main road.
Anything else that you didn't think of at all?
Not anything that's on
Anything else about that vehicle that you close your eyes and think about it? Any decals or stickers?
I can't even remember if it was a Washington or I don't believe I'm racking my brain. But I don't remember any stickers or anything sticking out or standing out on it. We got the notes, everything about the wheels were pulsating, the wheels are all excited about the mills. Because I was looking at the top part. I don't even remember clicking for the like if it had studs on. I don't remember studs clicking. I remember the gravel clicking, but not like stud clicking. Okay, that's that. Those studs are pretty loud. Yeah, you can hear them loudly.
But anything more? Okay, so the only other thing I have for you is, how are you doing? I know this has been a rough couple days for you. I hope this conversation wasn't, but you know, I certainly understand that this is a tough process and, you know, particularly considering the things you've been through in the last.
I want to help. Because, you know, taking me over there, I got his phone, my luck.
We very much appreciate your willingness to come, your willingness to come in tonight. You know, I know it was probably a lot just hearing the calls from the PD when we initially tried to get a hold of you, so I get that completely. I was talking to now, she's going to stay in contact with you, she'll check in on you if you need anything. She'll probably have some suggestions of things that may help.
He just first let me call. I told him this my first message I got from my voicemail. I just got your phone. The voicemail wasn't even picked up. All I was getting was your text messages. And I was actually sitting in my dad's truck, my tire had just blew. I just bought brand new tires. I was trying to sign on to work and my tire blew on the highway and my dad had just picked me up. I got no swap dealing with that. My car was out of alignment, so 2 weeks I driving around and brand new tires. The tire completely went all the way like this and blew on the highway with since the truck. So I had that $400 after the initial $800. So that's what I've been doing. He's like, I will call him and I'll call him. I'm like, you need to call him because he keeps texting me. And I'm trying to do what they said. If you're going to call him, you need to call him because he's still texting me. And, you know, I don't know if he can't get through. And then I realized that the voicemail wasn't set up. And then I had the app set up so no phone calls were getting through. And I was like, he's trying to get through and he can't get through. And he's texting me. He's probably sitting there wondering if I even know if it's real or not because I'm getting texted from these officers. So if you're going to call.
Well, we very much appreciate that. It is certainly possible we may reach out to you again. Is that okay?
Please do, yes.
And the number we use is that the right number?
And is it
Is it easier with the voicemail situation? Should we call? Should we text?
Texting was terrible. I have a hard time talking on the phone.
Okay.
I don't know why it triggers me.
Absolutely.
I tend to sit there and just stare at it ringing.
Okay.
Answer it. Okay. But I have speech to text voicemail too because I can't listen to them.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
It triggers me as a person is what it makes it hard to have the texting. That's why you won't answer me. He answers the phone calls.
Now, let me ask you this too. I know it's seems like you do DoorDash at night.
Yes.
So when do you sleep?
During the day, in the morning usually, I'm more of early mornings, usually I'm unconscious, I'm out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will certainly try and reach out to you. When's the best after
After you take these, yeah.
We can certainly work around that. As I said, the likelihood is we probably will reach out to you.
Yes, please do, please. I want to help.
And I keep in touch with you as well, so we may just work with you.
Okay.
We can kind of figure that out. If you have a preference, if you'd rather.
It doesn't matter, it's just, anything I can do, I'll come back.
Okay. That's
And
great.
if I think of anything, I will let you know.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things we always tell people, I know it's been a few days now at this point already, but you're gonna keep thinking about it.
Yeah,
and
thank you for
it's
trying.
helpful for your anxiety. I totally understand, but it's just one of those things that's
It's
going to
gonna
happen. If you think of anything else, if anything else comes to mind, reach out. We'll give you, Brett will give you a business card, and you'll have Tamara's information as well. You can reach Tamara, you can reach Brett.
Of course.
But anytime then, like, just call or text. If you want to text and say, hey, I thought of something, that's fine. It's probably easier to do that than to actually text the information to us, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
It may be something, if you don't mind, if you know it's us calling and you're expecting that call, if that's okay to have a conversation, so you don't have to come in.
Yeah, it just depends with the phone call thing. I
Okay.
wish there was a rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes I can answer that phone, I have no problem. But I'm the boss.
Yep.
Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, and I can't do it.
That's totally understandable.
And so, yeah. But, yeah. Great.